welcome to another edition of our complete Fate Reforged set review. Are you excited, Brad?
I'm pretty excited.
Oh my God, because I'm Evan Irwin.
I'm Brad Nelson.
All day, everyone here to talk about all the black cards in Fate Reforged. I'm really excited. They got a really cool mechanic for black this time, even though I miss Raid a lot. And we see it here on the very first card of Alicia's Vanguard in Dash. Tell me what you think about Dash.
Well, I didn't know what to think of it, and then I played with Mardu Scout in a versus video,
Yeah.
and it was phenomenal.
It was cray-cray?
It was cray-cray. It was, I'm going to put this in with haste, and then tap for my Nykthos and put something else in play. Yeah, like Mardu Scout kind of breaks it because it is a red devotion enabler.
Mardu's so good.
But it was just so phenomenal that I'm just like, I can play this so I'll never have to tap it again.
Right.
Or I can attack with it this turn and keep attacking, but now I'm like, now I've like kind of had this upkeep to where as long as I want this to keep attacking, I pay this mana. But then if you dash it and they block, you're like, oh, I don't have to do anything, and that's better. It's practically playing it with haste, right?
There you go, yeah.
And you got to pay for less of its mana, and it traded.
Right.
So like that's the way you look at these cards. Like you can look at them like, oh, if I deal the damage, I have to put it back in my hand and recast it.
Right.
But if they don't want to take that damage and trade, you just got a haste card that costs cheaper than its normal effect. That's way better than the actual casting it.
It's like a 3-mana 3/3 with haste that just goes back to your hand in a turn. So this was the essentially the the Viashino Sandstalker mechanic. Again, I was like, dude, because I am so old. How old am I? I played in the Visions pre-release.
I just want, I say that was wise because you played Magic longer than all of us. You knew how good it was back in the day.
No, it was bad back in the day, but they made it good. That's what they did. They took a Viashino Sandstalker, which was bad. This was the 4/2 for 3, 2 red and a colorless.
I played that in sideboards before.
Had that exact thing. Well, but at the same time, you played it many, many years later. Back in the day, when it first came out, and it was, I mean, I literally first played it when I cracked some Visions packs, and I was like, this card looks good, and it was terrible. Why? Because you didn't have the option of just keeping it on the battlefield. Now you have the option. So not only are they giving you really good dash cards that are really pushed, like Mardu Scout, you also have the option of just playing this as a heal giant. You don't have to play 3 mana and dash it out and get them and then bring it back, and every turn you have to pay 3 mana. Instead, you're just like, all right, 4 mana, go. And next time I'll have a 3/3.
The other thing is, for a lot of you out there that like watch SCG Opens and stuff like that and see a lot of Standard, Standard is actually really, oh man, I was about to say complex. Standard is really intricate in the sense that there's like grindy games where you have like coursers and Jeskai Ascendancies and all the stuff, right? Limited is a lot about basha.
Yeah.
It's a lot about hitting each other in the face as hard as you can and trying to win the race.
Yes.
And the coolest thing about Dash is you can play out your hand and keep 2 Dash cards, right? As your last cards that you're going to play.
Sure.
And then they're like, oh, I'm winning this race. And you're like, Dash, attack you with 5 creatures. It doesn't matter if you have to spend your next turn dashing again. They're dead.
That's right.
Like, and then if they like hold their whole team back because they know you have 2 dash cards now, you're like, all right, play one.
Yeah, I'll play one for full cost. Go.
Yeah.
And then when you finally decide to do something, I'll dash some more in. It's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, Standard or limited rather. Limited is just one big session of Fight Club, and that's awesome. And Dash sort of just really pushes that. This card in particular is fine. There's obviously better ones, and we'll talk about them, but it's good.
Hill Giant stats are great in this set because they stop morphs. Not for the whole duration of being a morph.
Right.
But if they're ever tapped out, you get to attack into a morph. Or they have to flip over their morph to go through a 3/3. So like, even though they get invalidated later on in the game, the body is really relevant on the play.
Absolutely. So this card is very playable. You will play it in your black decks. It's obviously very good in the aggro decks. They can trigger Raid, of course, which is really cool as it works between the sets and whatnot. And I missed Raid because I think Raid is one of the best keywords they've ever created. It's even better than Bloodthirst because Bloodthirst, you had to hit the guy. They had to be dealt damage or lost life or whatever it was. Whereas Raid was just like, if you attack this turn. So it told you exactly what you needed to do. So they gave them a great keyword, but I kind of lost the other keyword that I like so much. So, but I have heard that Raid's coming back in the 3rd set, and I'm really excited about that because I think it's awesome.
Can I tell you my favorite thing about Raid, though?
Tell me your favorite thing.
As a Sidisi Whip player,
here we go.
I was playing in an IQ, and my opponent wanted to get a Wingmate Rock into play, and get the value.
Right.
So he attacked with just one 1/1 token.
Okay.
And I had a Whip in play, and I just got to put like 12 guys in front of it. And I'm just like, like gain 16.
100.
Yeah.
And you get your extra 3/4. You got me. Sure. Card is good. Ancestral Vengeance, while a little mana intensive, still worth it.
Now these are the enchantments too that are going to help, like with the 3/2 that we saw that gets to put 1 back in your hand, or that gets you to draw cards. Now this is the cycle that is really good for that, because yes, you only get to give a creature -1/-1, but one of your guys gets +1/+1.
Absolutely. So you get to put a +1/+1 counter on your guys, which means all your obs on things that trigger on counters work, and you still get to most likely kill something and or finish something off as a result. So it's not quite a removal spell, but it's still very, very good.
Yeah, it's great, and also like this could be some weird card in a Devotion Enabler in a mono black Devotion deck in Standard. They're looking for Devotion Enablers. Like Grey
really
Merchant's still really good.
Yeah.
And Nykthos could be great in that deck, but you need them. And just making a creature a little invalidated, but keeping it alive with like a double black in play is probably better than just playing a bad creature that can't really go into combat anyway.
It's true. Nykthos is always like this powder keg. Nykthos is always waiting. It's right there, and it can be completely insane if they put too many mana symbols on cards. Yep. And that to me is really exciting. Archfiend of Depravity is a bomb rare. For God's sakes,
Yep.
It's a 5/4 flyer for 5. And like, oh yeah, got a sweet ability attached. Of course it does, because might as well keep down to 2 creatures, which is nuts. So it doesn't matter if they keep their 2 best creatures. You have a 5/4 flyer for 5.
Yeah, even if they only have 1 creature in play, this is probably better than that creature.
Yeah, probably better. And they're not going to be able to play more than 2, like no matter how good they are,
Yep.
because it just keeps them back. Card is super, super sweet. You first pick it, you always play it. It's super good. You'll always enjoy it.
Yep.
Battle Brawler. This card is super good. I would not be surprised to see this in Constructed.
It doesn't seem bad.
Card's powerful.
The thing is like the black decks that are aggressive are actually looking for more mono black good creatures, and like Pain Seer exists, right?
Right.
Like that's quote unquote better than this card in a mono black shell, and it's still not good enough.
In a mono black shell. I mean, I'm thinking like, maybe the red black aggro decks could actually get there now. Like
That's true.
They've
Like
always been kind of hinted at, but
the
they've never
Dash
actually done
Dragon could potentially go into this.
Exactly. So you got the Martyr Scout, you got the Dash Dragon. This guy's obviously a really good 2-drop, and when it becomes a 3/2 first striker, I mean that's real serious business on turn 3 if you can activate it, or even turn 1 if you got a
I mean, and
Fire Drinker Satyr. Rather.
It's not like this format's all about things that can kill 2 toughness creatures and coursers. It's not. I mean, it's not all.
Shut up, Brad. It's really good though. Really good, really playable. All your Martyr decks are going to want it. Like, it's uncommon for a reason. This is a pushed card that you will enjoy. Speaking of pushed cards, no one liked this card, and I was like, guys, this card is nuts. This card is like, it's not quite Hellrider, and I loved Hellrider from literally the moment I saw it. I thought it was great. And Hellrider was one of those cards that when back in the day they didn't used to spoil everything. Like this set, I think they spoiled literally everything but 1 or 2 rares, and they were all terrible. But back in the day,
well, that's the thing. There was some cream on top of this set, and they were just like, let's scoop that off and show them.
Right.
And then afterwards, you're like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, it's really sad. Now, some ways that's good because Boros Reckoner wasn't previewed, Hellrider wasn't previewed, and so it's cool when they don't really like push forward this preview card and say, hey, this card's really good, but rather just kind of let people figure it out. And they don't do that as much anymore, so everyone kind of sort of has to figure it out for themselves. But this guy, being mythic, being on the curve the way he is, the fact that his ability works the next turn thereafter essentially leads you into the turn 4, turn 5 play, and the instant he hits the battlefield, he starts draining things. Like, that's serious business, man. This guy does some serious work really quickly. And the fact that you can, on turn 5, play your 5th land, attack, and then play 5 mana and make all of their opponent's creatures, all of your opponent's creatures block your 1/1, and all of the rest of the dudes get in, like, that's serious.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
good times.
Can I ask you one thing about the art, then I'll go in? Does he have a head?
It's like,
Is that what it is? He's just
You
got
ever
so much
seen-
muscle.
you ever seen Super Mario Brothers, the movie?
No, they made a movie?
Oh God, it's one of the worst, most atrocious things. And
Is it worth it though?
No. But I saw it when I was like 12 or 13 years old, like in the theater, and I was like one of the 3 people there with my mother, and it was terrible and complete garbage. And they had these Koopas in there, and they had the Koopa Troopas, and the Koopas in there looked sort of like this guy, these weird reptilian heads and these big shoulders.
Did they have accents?
They didn't really speak English.
I mean Mario and Luigi, yeah.
Italiano,
did they
it was
do
really offensive generally, and it was just a terrible movie. And my favorite thing about that movie, just so I can wrap it up for the folks at home, at the very end of the Super Mario Brothers movie.
You're gonna spoil it?
Yeah, I'm going to spoil it, because what they did was they set it up for a sequel. The last scene of the movie was like set up for a sequel perfectly. That never happened because the movie was crap.
Okay, yeah.
But my 12-year-old self was like, oh my God, they're going to make Super Mario Brothers 2. They didn't.
All right.
This card is great.
Before we go into it, I love when we get to a mythic that we should talk about. We talk about like the
Super Mario Brothers movie, yes!
So the thing that I think about this card is just another Rabble Master type card that is wonderful on the play and just awful on the draw.
Pretty miserable on the draw.
And that's the problem with a lot of these cards, in my opinion, is that it's not going to catch you up. The life gain is not that great. It's a lot to invest into 5 mana to use its ability. Yes, you can just be like, all right, you're going to block my Goblin token and everything else gets through.
Right.
So that is threatening.
That's powerful.
But if they got on the board before you did, they just can constantly keep invalidating everything but this card and just leave this sitting and play doing nothing.
I mean, they could leave it sitting and play doing nothing, obviously, and you're going to need a few dudes to really make it powerful. But if you do have a couple dudes, I mean, the fact that you're draining them every time you're attacking is a big deal. It can sort of swing things back in your favor. I'm not saying it's the greatest card of all time, and obviously you want to win the die roll these days in Standard anyway. But if you are winning the die roll, this is the guy you want on turn 4, and then turn 5 when you actually hit your 5th mana.
And this is where I'm going to bring in one of my biggest things about the entire set. This is the perfect moment.
Okay.
Especially because we're going to get into all of the red and green cards.
Yep.
This entire set just makes Anger the Gods so happy.
Yeah.
The entire set. It works really
powerful.
well with the Soulfire Grandmaster. But then all the other creatures just die to Anger the Gods. And all the cards in the set make you want to play cards that die to Anger the Gods.
Yeah.
So we might see Anger the Gods becoming so powerful in Standard because it's good against everything in the set. Like, nothing in the set it's bad against.
Well, you need to have those, you know, those stop gaps on the format. You need to have that control where when there's no Shatterstorm and Mirrodin block, everything goes crazy. So you do want to have, you know, something that puts a lid on it.
That's true.
And by God, that put a lid on it. Crux of Fate. My God, they brought back Damnation. It gives you options. It's Black Wrath. What are they doing?
Yeah, let's for everyone at home that didn't get to play with Damnation, let's drop some knowledge on what a Damnation actually is. Damnation doesn't only allow a blue-black control deck to exist, because we already have a blue-black control deck, right? But that used to make, you thought right away, you're like, oh, it gives blue-black control a Wrath effect.
And that's the only place it's going.
Yeah, that's it. No, it actually just gets to go into all of the other mid-range decks that don't get Wraths. Like, just think of a Sidisi deck. Like, I played a versus video, you'll see it next week, where I played a Sidisi whip deck. Well, it's a Sultai whip, excuse me. I didn't play Sidisi. I played Eidolon of Blossoms, much like what Reed and Gerard played at the Players' Champs.
Sure.
But I got to play a Wrath effect. So it's like, all right, yeah, you keep building your board while I'm drawing all these cards, but then I can just Wrath you.
Yeah.
And it makes mid-range decks disgusting to play against because all they are about is like keeping the board controlled and drawing cards. So how do you play against that deck? It's really difficult to play against.
And you're like the only person talking about this card. It's like blowing my mind. I'm like, they gave you a Damnation back. It's not quite, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's sort of the black in hostilities, but it's still in black. And that's a card that hasn't gotten a board sweeper like this in some time.
No, it's phenomenal. This card is great. I saw it at $2 online and I laughed.
People don't even know.
Yeah, they don't know how good this card is because yes, it doesn't kill every creature all the time and your opponents can Dragon you, but think about it, if they Dragon you and that's the only card you care about, this is still just a 5-mana Doomblade for their Dragon, right?
Right, like, okay, fine, kill your Storm Breath, you know, go. Like,
but other than that, you can play it with your own Dragons, but the bigger thing is not a lot of cards in this set are Dragons, and that's going to kill everything in play. And there's cards in this set and strategies that you want creatures to die. You're okay in a whip deck having everything die. You're all about longevity.
I know, right? Oh, I'll just have to whip them back? Oh, that's terrible.
Oh, I'm just going to have to play Magic for 5 or 6 more turns and have fun?
Now, I can imagine there will be really good dragon creatures in the next set. Well, I'd hope so, calling it Dragon's Tarkir, for God's sake. But that means that this card might get a little bit worse, per se, if other colors start to get really awesome dragons.
Well, we need them to be cheap. I hope that there's 3 and 4 mana dragons that aren't super powerful, but they're still just like, you know, fledglings, but still call them dragons.
Sure. You know, cards that just basically say that this isn't just in hostilities in black.
Yeah.
Because right now it is, and we're going to get to see 2 to 3 months of this card just wrecking people in mid-range.
To be fair, what's funny is I actually still think Perilous Vault is better in blue-black control because like the Wrath effects aren't that great in that deck when your opponents just have the ability to play like Planeswalkers or other hasty creatures.
Sure.
Like there's a lot of backlash to Wrath effects that Perilous Vault doesn't feel, but a mixture might be correct.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, that's just like, you know, right now, in hostilities isn't the greatest thing ever, but it's still good. It's still played. It's just that you can't rely on it as like the end-all be-all stopgap for your opponent killing you because they still play Elspeths and whatnot, and you have to answer those things. So, again, in Limited, obviously this is a super bomb. First pick, always played, no question. In Standard,
you just get so many people with this card in Limited.
Oh, you will wreck their face. It'll be so good. And you'll actually probably get to use a lot of the dragon, non-dragon bit a lot more than you would in Standard, which is generally just Wrath of God. just in hostilities, everybody go away, which is great. But we'll see how this shakes out in standard. But it is definitely playable, and people just seem to be
maybe
underrating
people aren't talking about it because it was the first card spoiled so long ago that all the hype is gone.
Yeah.
But this will be a very influential card for standard because it's just so powerful.
Yeah, I mean they spoiled this at what, PAX or what it was, many months ago, and they wanted it to be something that people could talk about and get excited about, and they did for that short amount of time.
Especially because there's so much flavor involved with the whole dragon theme.
Yeah, and it's Ugin versus Nicol Bolas, and there's the two fighting, and the art's really sweet. But the hype kind of died down, and no one really speaks about it. But so when it starts to show up in standard, don't be surprised, and be sure to play it if you're playing any deck that can use it to its best ability.
Yeah.
Dark Deal sucks. God, this card is crap. This card is terrible. It's terrible. Brad, it's terrible.
Is it?
Yep.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Are you positive?
Oh, yeah.
Does it not make some really sweet, fun combos in standard?
Like what?
You don't remember Waste Not? Did you forget about that one?
Oh, that's cute.
Did you forget about that one?
That's adorable.
Waste Not into this?
Now, Waste Not...
draw 2 cards, get 2 zombies, get 4 mana.
Yes. Now, let me back up. It sucks in limited for sure.
Do you want to know one other combo?
In standard, you have Waste Not into this, which is like...
Do you want another combo?
I think that's it. What's the next one?
Spirit of the Labyrinth.
Oh.
Mind Twist.
Oh, 3 mana Mind Twist, you say?
Yeah. I mean, you don't get any cards and they get 1.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, they get 1, right?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah, and if they already have only 1 card in hand,
well,
your combo sucks.
But you can also like Treasure Cruise, or you can with this card, or you could have like a graveyard themed deck with like Bloodsoaked Champions.
Bad. Oh my God. Uh-huh.
Oh, we're gonna someone is laughing at me.
Someone's breaking this.
Someone's laughing at me through this lens right now.
Uh-huh.
But I guarantee one of you is going to die to Waste Not into Dark Deal at FNM. I guarantee it.
All right.
We're gonna wait 3 or 4 months after this video gets on YouTube.
Yep.
We're gonna see the guy be like, "Damn it, Brad, you were right."
Dude, there
how
I
did
was,
you do that?
Playing FNM. I was 0-1. They played Waste Not turn 2.
Oh,
and then
one.
I
You lost round 1 to this, baby. This is going all the way.
Oh, all the way. It's getting those foils, son. Because no one thinks about the dark deals. This card's bad. Diplomacy of the Wastes. I mean, Coercion was a card.
Yep.
Coercion actually came out in Mirage because I'm old. And, target opponent revealed their hand. You chose an online card from it. They discarded it for the same amount of cost, except now they give you a marginal amount of upside rather. And this card, while giving you that small amount of upside, just really isn't enough. Now, it normally comes in the sideboard, particularly in sealed, when they have amazing bombs you can't answer, and sometimes in draft for the same reason. But generally, this is a sideboard card at best until you can bring it in for the right reasons.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I don't know if it's better than like the discard 2, mill 2, because you want to like delve.
Rakshas's
Secret.
Secret, yeah.
Yeah, but this card is fine. Getting to deal 2 damage and take a card from them is great if you have a bunch of warriors. But yeah, you're right. Like, you don't want to draw discard effects late in the game that have no real upside. I don't know. I think it's going to be better than you're saying, but it's also not a big card. And you never want to play like 2 effects of this. Like, you decide if this is better than Waste Not or not. If your opponent has like bombs or wraths that you have to get, like a Crux of Fate that you have to play around, this card could be really good just to know if it's in their hand or not.
Absolutely. I mean, again, this is a card for me that I just bring in. I don't want to main deck it unless, again, maybe my seal's bad or maybe my seal has a very particular angle. I've seen some seals that are very like aggro oriented. You know what I mean? Like you have your 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, and that's sort of what your deck does. And so this is the type of card that you want in those situations because they're going to have some expensive bomb that's going to wreck you. But
because you don't have any answers to it.
And I actually lost to that deck in Grand Prix Orlando. The Valley Dasher seal.
Oh, you
deck.
played at Grand Prix Orlando?
Oh yeah. And I was what, 6-2 or whatever going in the last round, and playing for day 2. And my opponent went 1-drop into Valley Dasher, into Valley Dasher, into Valley Dasher. And I died.
Wow.
2 games in a row. That's pretty much what happened.
He had a lot of Valley Dashers.
Yeah, he wrecked my face. So that was the type of deck in Seal that this card would be perfect in, which is exactly what you want because it destroyed me and everything that I thought and held dear. All right. Dousing Gloom, so good. They brought it back from Guild Pack.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I feel like the Freaka's Cure type effects or Store and Thirst type effects and Dousing Gloom keep like looping on each other.
And that's fine.
They just do. Like they're always legal together, but they just keep being reprinted.
Yeah, I mean, Farika's Cure is just like the cheaper version of this, but it costs 2 black, and then there's Soren's Thirst because they want it to be all thematic.
Yeah, and if you have a Soulfire Grandmaster in play, you gain 4.
What? So good. Dousing Gloom is really sweet. It was a good card back in Guild Pact when it first debuted. It was still good in all the different iterations with the Farika's Cures and the Soren's Thirst and whatever. It's always good. It's always playable. Removal is very hard to get in this format, and you want something that'll kill a morph.
Yeah, and at instant speed. Like, the big difference between a lot of removal spells that are sorcerer and instant speed is that if you hold up mana, like what's it called? Debilitating Injury.
Sure.
Like, if you don't have a morph and you say go and they play morph, you have to spend turn 4 killing it.
Yep.
But this card, you can say go, they play morph, you kill it and untap. And now that makes this, even though it costs more than Debilitating Injury, when you're on the play or when the games go longer, this card is much better.
Absolutely. So you can finish something off. You can obviously kill their morph on turn 3, which is great. And it's playable removal, and you always want it. You pick it early, and you always play it.
And it's biggest in this format just because of how many manifested and morph cards end up in play. So there's a lot more tutus than in all the other formats.
Absolutely. So, Kill 'em Dead. Fearsome Awakening. This card is okay. This is one of those cards that always looks better than it kind of plays. I like reanimation spells. Generally, I like the Zombifies of the world. I like the fact it gives the dragon bonus, which is kind of cool in its own way, and you always want to play it with your dragons, of course. But, you know, this is always, sort of like the Zombify effect, where I always feel like Zombify is like really powerful, really good, but it always sometimes doesn't end that way. This is bad in your opening hand. It's bad in the early game because, like, your good stuff isn't dying, and if your if your early stuff died, you don't want it back anyway. So it's kind of a push-pull there. Like, maybe as a one-of, I think is nice because you ideally get it late game. It's better in sealed, obviously, because you're grinding out more, and by the time they've answered your bomb, you can bring it back. But I don't know. What do you think?
No, I'd rather just play a bomb.
Play a bomb.
I have a long-winded story that doesn't have that good of a punchline, but you know, I never because
You're not going to tell it to us, are you?
No, I'm going to tell it to you.
Oh God.
Because I was like, all right, I'll just skip it. It's not on bearer rights.
Cliff notes, brah.
Yeah, it's not on bearer rights.
All right.
And everything that's not on bearer rights, I hate.
I mean, Unbearer Rights was so good.
Yeah, it broke the form of Magic cards. It shouldn't have been printed.
That card was dumb.
You should not be able to mill over your animate spells like that. We've learned our lessons, but
that was so crazy.
But ever since that, I've been too spoiled to ever want to reanimate anything ever again in standard. It just doesn't, or even in limited. It doesn't make sense. I'd rather just play another bomb.
They just spoiled you to death.
Oh yeah, they totally spoiled me. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Ghastly Conscription.
Oh, I love everything about this card. I love the art, how it works. Like, I just love all the morphs coming out, or the manifest, or whatever the morph manifest creatures are.
Right.
Which are those things, the little blue balls
the
of
artwork
death.
is really cool. That's the manifest morphs, or the blue ones, or whatever.
Yeah, he's bringing them all back, like the spirits. Yeah.
Now, is this card gonna kind of burn you because like they've already delved away things, or
you can use you too.
It could just whiff.
No, you can target player. You can use you.
I'm just saying, like, is there an issue, sort of like a push-pull, of there may not be enough creatures by the time you get to 7 mana that it really does enough?
No. This card is awesome.
Okay.
This card is phenomenal. Play it. It's going to be great in Commander. Yeah, I said it.
Oh!
Yeah, I said it!
Did you bust that out, son?
Oh, but it is.
Of course it is. Yeah, I know. You're gonna all the things.
That's probably the best format for this card.
I mean, it's not going to be bad in that format, don't get me wrong. So in Limited...
All-Star.
All-Star in Constructed.
Terrible. Unplayable.
But in Commander.
Unbelievably powerful.
God, so crazy good.
You get to command all of your opponent's creatures.
Oh, and then you get to swap them out and, shuffle them up and then put them face down.
And then not cast them because you don't have the mana to.
Of course you don't, but it looks really cool, though.
Yeah.
And they don't know. They don't know what they're killing. They will later. Grave Strength. Now, this is a card that is probably bad. However... I will just note that this card to me, when I read it, I was like, that says for every creature, there's no limit.
Yeah.
It also mills at the start of it. So not only are you getting a +1/+1 counter for every creature in your graveyard, you get to mill on top of that. So if you have 3 creatures in your graveyard and you mill 1 more, it's 4 +1/+1 counters for 2 mana. That seems okay to me.
It seems like an enchant creature that if they kill it, it sucks because you got 2 for 1.
Yeah.
But you did get to mill 3 cards, so you really want to have a delve theme with this, like maybe a treasure cruise theme. So like you mill a bunch and you draw a bunch. But that's what this format really needed. Like the
this card or just
more like diversity in how you get cards in your graveyards and what those can do. Like, because what's it called? Search something. It was the 3 mana where you reveal the top 5. It's the bad Grizzly Salvage.
Yeah, I remember.
Like those type of effects exist, but like none of them are that aggressive.
Are we talking like Tygon Scheming? That card?
Well, no, the one.
That card was terrible.
No, there's a 2 colors green Grizzly Salvage.
Yes.
Like that one. But like you want these types of effects, but like this one's probably playable just because you want a diversity of them and you want to be able to bash with them and you can attack really hard with this card. So
it seems super good in sealed. Not as good in draft because you're more sort of back and forth. And
well, I think it's the opposite. I think it's better in draft because you get to build around it. Yeah.
Huh.
Because you're gonna have more options while you're drafting.
Yeah, I mean, you are going to have more options, yes, but I also think sort of sealed is a more grindy game than a draft game.
And that's why you don't want this, because they're going to have more removal. There's less removal in draft than there is in sealed.
Sure, but at the same time, you want sort of the ultimate. For me, this is kind of like a top deck trump. You know what I mean? You're staring at each other, or you've got like that lemon meringue guy is hitting you for 2, and you like that, don't you? And you top deck this, and you go, oh snap! Like you make your flyer huge, you make your unblockable guy huge, and you start to end the game faster. And yes, they may have a removal spell, sure, but this to me is the type of stuff that kind of breaks games open in ways that draft maybe you're losing on tempo and this card isn't really going to matter because they have a trick or they have something that taps your guy or whatever it is.
Or you put counters on a guy and gives it lifelink because of your battlefield guy, the 3/2 Outlast. I don't know. I'm thinking of stuff like that, and I think that this card has a little bit more depth in limited or in draft as opposed to sealed. Why don't you guys let us know which one?
Ooh,
we're arguing.
You tell us.
And we can never say whoever does more gets pied or whatever, who gets more votes, because then it just becomes a popularity contest.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
And they're going to want to pie you.
Yes, let's face it. I know. This card is good, though. This card, the Gurmog Angler.
Oh, it's great.
That's cool. And what is going on with that?
Oh, see,
what is the weird people tongue going on there?
Is it a tongue? Because what I think is like some type of like Sidisi is on his back. And he's holding one of those fishing things to keep him moving.
That's the carrot to keep him moving?
Yeah, but it's a human body.
God. It is a zombie fish.
Yeah, he's trying to eat the human body.
It's weird. It's a weird bait thing. Regardless, it's a 5/5 for way less than 7 mana, obviously. So generally, if you delved away 4 cards and you paid 3 mana for a 5/5, doing okay.
Yeah, that's really great. And then if your opponent lightning strikes it, you don't have to sack 3 permanents. See what I did there?
Yeah.
Let's see if you guys know what we did there.
Exactly. So it's a good thing you didn't negate my argument. But yeah, either way, this card is very good. I mean, it's hard to say. Like it's just a vanilla delve card.
Yeah, I mean it's better than the 3/5 Death Touch that costs more than this. This is a little bit more push than that. So you're gonna want this a lot more than that one because it deals more damage. Right. Doesn't cost 8 to delve. It's or 8 converted mana cost.
Correct.
So
it's good. It's playable. It's hard, it's not. It's one of those things like it doesn't suck. It's not the greatest thing ever. It's not a windmill slam. You don't want to card. You don't want 4 of these.
Delve cards. We all know how delve works. We don't want 8 cards with delve in our limited decks.
Right. I mean, you don't really want 4 of these as much as it sort of sounds cool because you are going to eventually have to pay 6 or 7 mana for these things, and then it starts to get not so great.
Well, we could have 5 of them, right? If we read a replication.
Of course we could. In Commander.
Yeah.
Hooded Assassin. This card is awesome. I love the fact that it gives you 2 different options. These are 2 different options that I think matter at different points in the game.
Oh, for sure.
You're going to almost always want to use the second ability because obviously destroying a creature that's already been damaged is better than just making a 2/3. But when you're just going on the curve and or you're just on a blank board, a 2/3 for 3 is a fine man.
Now, the biggest thing about this card that I want to stress is when you're using his second choose or second ability of destroy a creature, you want to find a way to make these bodies work. Like this card isn't good if you want to play a ton of these and want to use a second ability, because you want the 1/2 body to do something, or you just played a removal spell that made you throw another guy in front of something, right?
Yeah, basically. You had to like sacrifice another card to kill that card, so then you just kind of like 1 for 1, but you only have a 1/2 left over, which isn't great.
Creatures that are lower than morphs are not good in this format because there's a lot of 2/2s. So if you just have a 1/2 on the board, you got to make them do something.
Yeah, he's probably just going to die or chump block. But, if you got rid of their bomb rare, okay. But again, if he's a 3 mana 2/3 on the curve, that's fine as well.
But they do stack into each other really well because it's a 1/2 and you're like attack and they're like, do you have another one? Or block. And then you're like, I won't block because I don't believe you. And then you're like, yeah.
You're like, got another one.
Yeah.
And he looks like a badass, so high 5. Mardu Shadow Spear. Yeah, I love this one because they flipped dash. They flipped it on its head.
Oh yeah, it made it more expensive.
Yeah, they made the dash more expensive, but it has the cool each opponent loses a life, so it kind of sort of like a pseudo 2-1, but it's not, but it is. And I think that's awesome.
It is a 1/1 for 1 without a very good ability. Do not play this in limited at all. All right, I just needed to get that out.
Oh man,
That
really?
is my 1/1 for 1 rule. At what point in the game are you going to be happy you had this? When they're at 1 life?
No, when I open up when I fan open the opening hand and I see Valley Dasher, Mardu Shadow Spear, and I'm like, yes.
Okay, what happens when you mulliganed and only drew one of your Valley Dashers? And what is it with you and Valley Dasher?
I just love that stupid card. What do you want from me? I know we crapped all over it in the last set review, and I saw it beat the crap out of me, and I played it to various amounts of success, and I like the card.
It
I
means
think it's
fine,
It
but-
basically represents to me the uber aggressive deck, because the uber aggressive deck is the only one where this is really going to succeed.
Yeah.
Because if it's not, because you're anywhere like mid-rangey or trying to do Obzon Outlast type crap, you're going to lose.
But in this format, you roughly have to deal like probably 22.5 damage because of like the gain life lands.
Truth.
And so you have to deal more damage. And this card gets invalidated really quickly, and it could cause you to snowball into being out of control in the game really early. So being super aggressive doesn't work as well as you think it should in this format.
It's not that good. It really isn't. I mean, I'm not going to argue too hard for it. I'm just saying, like, it's the same. It feels like the same arguments for that 1/1 for 1 flyer guy. You know, it's
That
like,
one's
if
better
it
than this
triggers-
card.
If it triggers raid and if it blah blah blahs, it's
Flying
still
is
crap.
way better than this card. This
It is
card
way
is
better than
fine. I can't believe that it's uncommon.
I mean, you know, part of it I feel like they kind of put up the smoke screen. You know,
Yeah.
where they're just like, psh, it's uncommon. It's probably way better than you think it is, and you're like, you sure? You know. And it's like that the mythic Sultai card where you're just like, they made it mythic, so maybe it's really good, and I just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, most of the Sultai cards were just awful except for Sidisi. Like, they were all just real bad.
Well, Murderous Cut's pretty good.
Well, I mean, the 3-color cards. Yeah,
Oh,
that they
yeah,
made,
I mean
yeah.
the tricolor cards. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were bad. So, Martyr Strike Leader, not bad.
No, this one's much better.
This one's way, way better
Yeah.
because if you attack for 5, essentially, or I'm sorry, if you attack for 3 and get your 2/1, so next turn you attack for 5 and get another 2/1, like, it adds up really quickly.
And you can put the molten skin on it, whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
That's the one that gives it what?
+2/+0 and regenerate.
Yeah.
Yeah, you put that on this guy and just go to town.
Oh, snaps.
Get all the bodies and keep
You know,
attacking.
This
And
card is a bomb rare. This card is super good.
Yeah, and you're even okay with, if their board is dry, you're even okay being like, all right, I'll just dash it for the turn because you got a 2/1 body out of it.
Right, and if their board is wet, put a towel down. It's
Yeah,
weird.
because you don't want to deal with
I've just
eternal
never heard anyone
wetness.
say that the board was dry.
Really?
The board was parched.
You never heard board is dry?
No,
I've used it a lot.
not in here.
Really?
Because I would make fun of you for it, like I just did.
Well, what I mean by the board is dry is like there's nothing in your way.
The board is moist.
Is the board is dry? Is the board is dry a poker term?
I guess. I don't know.
I don't even know.
Is your
I
board
just use it for a long
like
time.
juicy?
I don't know, I'm from North Dakota, man. We say some weird stuff up there.
Your board is frostbitten. All right, Martyr Strike Leader, anyway, is really good. Any constructed hope for this guy?
No.
0?
Too expensive.
Okay. Just asking questions. Now, I love a Fleshbag Marauder. You know how much I love a Fleshbag Marauder? I died in multiple PTQ top 8s during the Shards Limited format, and I loved me a Fleshbag Marauder. I got to the finals in the Shards PTQ Limited. I got smashed.
Did
but
ya?
I did.
Oh.
And the bad part was that this was for Yokohama, and you know I was big in the Magic Show. I was making the Magic Show every single week, and I was like, you know, can you please, like, you know, I want to go to Tokyo, or I want to go to Japan, Yokohama rather, and you know, like, let me take the Magic Show to Japan. And he was like, no. I'm like, you better go.
And
you
he didn't
better
go,
go.
yeah.
He didn't go.
That's awful. I went to mine, and I played this card in the sideboard of my first Pro Tour deck.
Okay.
And I've already been talking a lot about this card in Standard.
Nice.
Because it is a Chainer's Edict with Whip of Erebos.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
It's really good against heroic decks.
I like it. I like it.
And yeah, I mean, it dies on its own. So like you can get some triggers. Like another card that I'm looking at with this card is Dictate of Erebos,
Okay.
where you just get to make him sack 2 creatures.
Right.
But Whip of Erebos is the big one, is that you are able to just have a removal spell in your deck that lets you trigger your Sidisi.
Yep.
That also can get whipped back. Now, this is kind of a bad card against token strategies.
Well, of course.
But your deck is good against token strategies. What you're bad against is, all these heroic creatures, or just being able to kill, like, a Caryatid, because I've been playing Caryatid a lot. There's a lot of draws where we lean hard on that card because we know it's not going to die. We lean real hard on that card.
Oh, yes. Please don't die, Caryatid, because I suck.
The most powerful thing you can do is play Caryatid into Courser Tapland, and now if I have to play Tapland, now I'm, like, too slow to play my Courser. And so, like, this guy being able to kill those 2 creatures and get whipped back and trigger your Sidisi as just another removal spell that is a creature. Thumbs up on this card.
Card's great.
I would say spec on it, but it's an uncommon.
Yeah, don't spec on this crap. Just play it because it's great.
It's all right.
I love it.
It's okay in. It's actually not as good and limited as potential for constructed because they get an option and you're giving them an option on what dies. Right. And usually the early creatures don't matter.
Yeah, in limited it's a little bit sort of messier, if you will.
And his body's not that good to like keep alive over another creature. So
right, it's one of those like if you just play him and just sack him, you're not losing a whole lot because he's 1 toughness for God's sake. He's going to trade with like basically anything that blocks him ever.
I'm just glad they reprinted Fleshback Marauder.
Me too.
Yeah, I think they were afraid. Like I think they print these kind of effects just when they're really afraid of something overtaking like Battleship Magic or Battlecruiser Magic.
Yeah, and I love it. And and I think if we start to live in a world where Eldrazi or like stupidly huge creatures come back into play, this card gets even better.
You really think that they're bringing Eldrazi back? Do you have any inside information?
No.
Okay,
have
well,
you heard of my weird theories? It's all terrible.
I'll bet you on Eldrazi.
Oh, I don't want to do that. That's terrible.
I lost one for fetch lands and I was 1 set short.
You still lost it.
I know, but I said M15 and then I got it in cons.
Fine, Eldrazi in the 3rd set.
All right.
Let's do it.
You got me on 1 set on fetch lands.
I totally just lost that, just so we know. I lost that.
All right, pie bet check 2.
Noxious Dragon, super crazy good. Even better than a 4/4 flyer, it kills something when it dies. Now, yeah, I could mill you 4, yeah, I could stop him from playing spells, but I like my dragons that kill things on the way out.
Oh, yeah, especially when you just play this dragon and you don't really care because you can get a 2-for-1 out of it really fast.
Sure.
And your opponent, it's a situation where it's a rock and a hard place. Like, I wanted to kill this dragon, and I'm going to lose this creature, so it doesn't lose tempo when you're tapping out for a big dragon. That's always the best feeling.
Turn 6, like 4/4 dragon go. You don't care. It's that feeling. It's fantastic. It's super great and limited. You're going to be playing it in all of your decks. It's better. Is it better in sealed than draft?
I think it's going to be great in both.
I think it's great in both. I'm just trying to figure out which one wins.
I don't think it matters.
Well, not necessarily. I'm just trying to figure out, in draft, is it too expensive?
No,
you don't want to run like multiples
Black decks
of these
like
things?
big cards. They've been looking for cards like this. My Sultai and Abzan decks, I always feel like I can clump the boards, but I just don't have some big flyer. That's why we lean so hard on the 3/3 Delve guy.
Sure.
In Abzan and Sultai decks, because you need to find a flyer.
Yeah.
The 6 mana.
6 mana guy.
Yeah, the Delve one. You have to find some way to kill them, and this is just an upgrade on that, in my opinion.
A bigger, better version.
Yep.
I'll take it. So, nothing in constructed, but this is a great limited card.
I just don't like that it's not flying at the moment.
I like this card a lot. Orc Sure Shot is, it's a little fragile. It's a 4/2 for 4. You're not going to be able to attack with it a whole bunch. But the fact that whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you get to start making their guys basically die. That's very powerful. They're going to want to kill this guy immediately. The reason he has 2 toughness is so your opponent can kill him at some point with something.
Yeah, you want to make sure he dies to the Thousand Glooms and the debilitating injuries and all the the wild slashes. You want to make sure he dies to things because he will take over a game.
Yeah.
And you can also combo him with some disgusting things like Ponyback Brigades and Hordling Outbursts, things like that. Yeah, you can just go crazy. The curve of morph your Ponyback Brigades, play your Orc Sure Shot, and then flip it over and kill their guy. You're like, wee!
That's nutty good.
Yeah.
Again, so this guy is obviously, could be a little fragile, could die, but when he doesn't and you untap with this guy, your opponent is officially scared.
He also doesn't look like he only has 2 toughness. He seems like he doesn't need a bow and arrow.
He seems a little scary. I'm not gonna lie. He does some serious work. I like this guy a lot. Pick him highly because you won't see him again.
Nope.
Palace Siege. Now this card was really interesting. I think it's very good. I like it in the sideboard of decks against control decks because it hurts them on both fronts. If you're either going to drain them to death, guaranteed, or you're going to completely start to run through your cards again. Yep. Oh, you killed my Siege Rhino. I'll play another Siege Rhino. Oh, you Perilous Vaulted that one. Okay, I'll play this. You got to kill it. You got to play this. You got to Crux of Fate. You got to kill this. You got to hit hostilities. You got to do something to it because I'm just going to keep chaining all my dudes back again forever, or I'm just going to sit there and drain you. Like drain you for 2, drain you for 2, drain you for 2. Play another one. Drain you for 4, drain you for 4. Like that's powerful.
Sulfur's Vortex was really, really good back in the day, and there isn't good life gain for the control decks right now. Like they don't Sphinx's Rev.
Yeah, they got like their lands. You know, they got Radiant Fountain, and they got their tap lands, their gain lands. And
those are the way that they get back in to stabilize. Now, if you're just draining them for 2 a turn, I think that's really good. And this is potentially playable in Standard, but we'll have to see because you can do a lot of cool things with 5 mana, and you can do a lot of good things with sideboard cards.
Right. Well, that's where I'm saying, like, I don't think this is like main deck material in almost any deck, period. But like, this is a great sideboard tool for you to bring in versus those decks who just don't have a good answer for it, or just trying to drag out games. Where this will just win the long game.
It's also a must play in limited. Yeah. It's bonkers in limited. You just get it and you just get all the value. Like Debtor's Knell was unbelievably broken, and that brought it back into play. But in this format, it's slow enough to where if you get time to play this and trade off a lot of board position, you can just start recurring creatures, and that's just really bad.
Yeah, it's nutty. I mean, if you're almost dead, you're going to play the Dragon's Half. It can still win you the game. And if you're not, if you're anywhere near parity, you choose the first option, and you're just almost guaranteed to win the game. And that is fantastic.
Pretty cool card.
Card is super powerful. Karsi High Priest. Now, this is the card I was talking about earlier that lets you sacrifice cards.
Yeah, this card is great.
And this card is very, very powerful, and it allows you to, at any time, doesn't say at sorcery speed.
No.
At any time, you can sack a dude to manifest a card, which is awesome.
Yeah, this is a little pushed. It's not going to be good in Standard, but it's going to be so annoying and so great in Limited, because this is the reason why all the like recursive, like or recurring creatures, like can't block, is because we can block with a manifest,
right,
and then manifest again and get another guy, and then block and sack that one to get another guy, and sack that guy to get another guy.
So the lemon meringue guy can make a 2/2 comeback.
Yep.
So for 5 mana, I can do that little loop.
That's really gross. I didn't think about that. That's going to be really good. Blood-soaked champions too.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. So yeah, this guy has a lot of potential. This is a guy, I mean, he's uncommon for a reason, and you know, you have to pick him when you see him, otherwise you're not going to see him again, and he has a lot of long-term potential and a lot of sort of like really cool interactions that we haven't even begun to see, honestly. This is the type of card that you play, and then you start to play other stuff, and then you go like, oh my god, I can do that, or I can attack with this and put this on the stack, and blah, blah, blah. This card is super sweet and will provide some really awesome gameplay experience.
Let's just also just say that all cards that have High Priest in their names are just bonkers.
It's pretty good. Pretty good. Reach of Shadows. Now, you can't just say a colored creature. Can't do it. That feels weird. But what you can say is a creature that is 1 or more colors.
Yep.
That's important. So, destroy a target creature that's 1 or more colors is cool. Doesn't hit morphs. Doesn't hit colorless Eldrazi. And, you know, it gives you a lot of gameplay, and maybe the next set has a lot of artifact creatures for all I know. It doesn't hit the artifact creatures either, obviously, which is cool. But for 5 mana, it looks like a lot, but you're going to play this every time. This is premium removal in a block that doesn't have a lot of it.
Also, this is like great removal that you get to like bait your opponents into flipping their guys up. You're like, block with my bad creature on your morph, and they're like, all right, flip it up. And you're like, well, you spent 5, I spent 5, but I already invested my turn into casting this, and you now kind of wasted your turn, and now I untap.
Nice.
So they didn't get to build their board, you didn't either, but you got the tempo advantage because you're going first after both people are tapped out. So this is a really good card to hold up when your opponent has a morph, and you want them to unmorph it just to kill it.
Absolutely. And otherwise, it just, you know, answers all the good bombs. You know, you got a super sweet bomb that's in any of these colors ever, then just get rid of it. Just kill it. Sibsig Host. Really, Wizards? Sibsig? Seriously? It's dumb. Here's the battlefield.
Wizards is dumb.
This name is dumb. I don't like dumb names.
What is Sibsig?
I don't know. I'm sure it means something cool because I don't know what it means, but maybe it means something neat.
I don't think anything cool is happening in this art, so I don't think it would be good. I don't think you want to visit there.
This is just kind of a big bag of bad. It's made to be mediocre. It's made to kind of look bad. It mills yourself. There's better ways of milling yourself. I mean, that 2/1 for 2 that mills 2 when it enters the battlefield is better than a 5 mana 2/6.
He does hold back a lot of things except King of the Morph, because that guy is a 6/7.
Right.
He holds back a lot of the teamer cards while filling your graveyard. So I mean, it's bad, but I wouldn't just like see a deck and that's the first card I see and then be like, this is awful, throw it away.
Right. I wouldn't, like, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not Tygon scheming and whatnot, which is...
That is the worst card in the world.
That card's really bad. But
if you were forced to play a card in a limited deck for the rest of your life, like you have to play one of these 2 cards. Let's just say hypothetically that you're... No, it's Scheming or Lens of Clarity. Which one would you have to play?
Oh, now this is funny.
Let's just say if you were in a green-red deck, you could cast Scheming for green or red.
So someone did the math. This is great.
Yeah.
Someone did the math on Lens of Clarity. They tried to create the best scenario for that card to be good in any fashion. They were like, what if somebody has what if somebody has like 20 life forms, you know, the manifest white card. Like, what if they had like 20 of them and you had Lens of Clarity? Would it be worth it, the card, to actually know what was under there? And no, it's bad. It's 100% bad all the time, always. You'd rather have Tygon Scheming.
Lens of Clarity would be pretty good back in Onslaught when they would have better Craighorn or whatever, and Skirt Prospector.
Yeah.
Skirt Prospector, Skirt Marauder, whatever it was called.
Yeah, it was Marauder. But regardless, the point is that I understand that those cards are both bad. Tygon Scheming, a little bit less bad.
That's the one you go with?
Yeah.
All right.
God, that card.
I would too, because Lens of Clarity is like the worst thing ever, and every single time I see it in my 14th pick, I'm like, you deserved this.
Look at what you did.
Or when people actually pass that and keep the land, and I'm just like, you jerk. Like, why'd you do this to me?
Just stick it in and twist it.
I have like more lenses than I have other cards because it's always the last pick.
Always.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the one you take the land over. Sib-Sig Host is not great. If you play it, it's not like your deck's automatically crap. It's just bad. It's just not good. It's just a card where you feel bad. You're just like, all right, fine. I need a 5-drop, or I need something on the curve, or I need something to block all these creatures, so I'll play this thing, but I won't feel good about it.
I've also had nightmares that look just like that, though.
Well, here we are.
Zombies.
Sib-Sig. Again, now I'm sure it has something to do with the Vorthos storyline, such and such.
Maybe
Sib-Sig is weird.
Maybe we'll get Sib-Sig in the last set because he's undead.
I mean, look at this name. Sib-Sig Muckdraggers. Guys, what are you doing? Anyway, as a 9-mana 3/6.
No, I know what they want to do. They want to... make Magic sound very professional when they're doing their Pro Tour streams.
Sure.
Like, when you watch it, like, let me watch Magic. They're like, all right, you cast Sib-Sig Muckdraggers. And they're like, nah, next. Let's go check what's going on with Hearthstone.
What? Yeah, so this card is interesting, obviously, because you can delve away all of the non-creature cards and get back the creature that you want. It's Gravedigger on a delve spell, and obviously they had to make it really, really expensive. This is sort of one of those, it's another one of the, what was the Golgari mechanic? From Return to Ravnica.
Dredge?
Not Dredge, the other one. The one that you paid mana and made it give +1/+1 counters. Scavenge, thank you. So Scavenge was the mechanic from there, and what you saw with Scavenge is that everything cost 1 million mana. And so obviously Delve, you have the same thing, but at least Delve you can actually get to those costs. Whereas Scavenge, they were always terrible, basically. They were always really expensive, and they couldn't even make them cheap, whereas you can always kind of work your delve into being very, very cheap. So, in a perfect world, if you played this, and delved away 8 cards and got your best creature back, that's pretty good for 1
I think what we've learned is, if I could give one lesson to Wizards that we've learned, is you can do some really gross things with graveyards, as long as it's not in blue. Because Unveil Rites was gross, but it was still just a format deck. It was a format staple, not a format-defining archetype.
Sure.
It was just one of the other good decks you could play.
Of all the colors to give Delve to,
or just give a graveyard to.
Probably not the right one.
You just don't give graveyards to blue, ever. They always break them.
They break them in half. And, the fact that you could bring back Ancestral Recall, basically, which is exciting and fun and cool, even though everyone kind of crapped on it at first, is sweet. But again, of all the colors... does blue need everything?
Yeah, blue should just not get graveyards. That should just not be part of their wheel.
Yeah, but unfortunately it is.
Yep.
This card is good, though. However, I mean, again, it looks really expensive, but it's not that expensive. The fact that, if you can pay 4 or 5 mana for a 3/6 that is essentially a Gravedigger, that's fantastic. That's a good card. So you'll play it and you'll enjoy it. Soulflayer is a bomb. This card is huge. You don't need a lot to make this card sweet. Flying and hexproof. That's really all you need. If you can get those two keywords, high five. If you can just get flying, you're still in good shape.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in a Versus video already, we tried this deck with Chromaticores and
How'd it
all
go?
that. Well, I was playing a deck that should beat... Todd was playing the Soulflare deck, and I played a deck that should destroy it, and he still won 2 games.
Okay.
And it was really gross when he would just get hexproof, flying, indestructible, lifelink, trample, first strike, vigilance. And I was just like, all right, well, I guess next game, attack with my Flame Wake Phoenix, idiot.
Lose. Yeah, so that's a thing. I mean, this is a card that I like because it looks really exciting. No matter what, you're going to have a good time just imagining what this card can do.
Oh yeah, and I love that it's coming out of the grave with all of the swords from all the things that it's delved. Like that's what it's doing right now. It's just getting all the weapons that he found while he like unearthed himself.
Oh yeah. He's just picking up pieces and parts and being hexproofy and flying and all sorts of cool stuff.
Kind of a jerk in that way. I can just see him just like seeing all these dead bodies, and be like, I'll take some of that, and I'll take some of that, and I'll take some of that.
$5 out of this guy's wallet and these shoes. Yeah. Card is sweet. I like it a lot. It's funny. It's one of those things that's like, if it could delve one more card, it might actually be a little bit better because then you'd have even another chance to give it another keyword.
I think with Chromanticore and Sylvan Carrington in the format, we're good.
Oh, so good.
And gods.
Do you think this could actually get there and constructed?
No.
Okay. Just checking. No. I'm just checking. Card is nuts and limited though. Make sure you always pick it and play it. I could see you could play like 1 or 2 in like a Sultai deck, but I don't think the build around me decks are going to be that good. Yeah. Well, not while Thoughtseize is around anyway. Sultai Emissary. All right. Here's your 2-mana 1/1 that becomes a 2/2. This card's super good.
Much better than the when it dies draw card, the Prowess one.
Well, yeah. I mean, arguably.
I like this card a lot. Like getting to block and get a guy out of that, and it's a big tempo boost. Also, a lot of times in this format, you're going to want to like double block. I've seen a lot of double blocks come up, and just having a 1/1 to go along with a double block. And it's like, sure, use your removal spell on my guy to keep your guy alive. I'm going to manifest and not lose any advantage.
Right. I mean, the fact that you're basically, you're paying 2 mana for a 2/2 later, and you get a 1/1 now, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. It replaces itself in almost the best way. I mean, it depends on obviously what you're going to draw off Jeskai Sage and whatnot, but still. This is a very good, solid, playable card. Yeah,
the only thing that is weird about this is why it's a Sultai card when it's just clearly a warrior for the Abzan decks. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like those weird, they kind of have to put a card in Sultai, and they have to put a card over here.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's fine, it's good, and it's playable, and that's all I care about. Sultai Rune Mark. All right, here's the Death Touch one.
Yeah, because it makes a lot of sense that I am a black card, but now that I have a blue card, I get Death Touch.
Right, only after I got some knowledge.
Thank you for bestowing this knowledge, blue cards. Now I have the ability to have Death Touch.
I know how to be noxious.
This makes a lot of sense to me.
Sure does. I mean, and the other kind of weird part about it is that if you get +2/+2 on the creatures that Sultai generally has, or even Abzan, it's probably going to be big enough to kill whatever's blocking it anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't really need the Death Touch.
Well, a Rhino does like Death Touch, so then, the dock can just trample over.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Of course. That'd be great. So, that's fair. I mean, and this isn't as good as the other ones. I think the Jeskai Rune Mark is great because it gives it evasion, and the white one is worse because it gives it, arguably worse because it gives it vigilance. It's better on flyers. This card is just like, it's not really necessary.
+X and Death Touch is like just a waste. I would much rather like a bad card like where you give a creature negative, like a debilitating injury, gives it Death Touch. So it's kind of like this weird card like you always need to kill a 2/2 because you don't want to give their guy Death Touch.
Right.
Because like I played a lot with Soul of Innistrad, and Death Touch has never been relevant. Never once been relevant.
Just isn't, and that's fine. I understand it's part of the color wheel, and they want to make a cool cycle that has, big sort of, big pillars of each color pie and what they can do, and that's fine. But ultimately, it means that the gameplay isn't as exciting because the cards you put this on usually don't really need it.
Nope.
Now, how about this guy? He's good and limited. Okay, people, play him. You'll love him. He's great. Tell me about Constructed.
I really don't see it. A lot of people are talking about this card. And this is the card that I will gladly eat my words. I will be happy if this card sees play because it is a cool and interesting ability.
Sure.
But the problem I have with this card is Delve decks, there's a lot of garbage in your graveyard. You throw a lot of stuff out, man. You throw Thoughtseizes and, Sylvan Carringtons and Satyr Wayfinders and all this, and you can delve some of it, but some of it will still grow back.
Right.
And
now you're going to be able to delve 5 just by playing him.
Yeah, that's completely fair, but I also don't want to delve right away because I want to keep some of those cards in my graveyard because I'm a Sultai deck.
Sure. But also a 1-mana 4/5 is pretty sexy.
1-mana 4/5 is great, and maybe that's where this power is coming from that I'm not seeing. But Hootie Mandrills has been around, and we haven't seen anything from him.
Yeah, but Hootie Mandrills doesn't let you get cards back from your graveyard like instant speed activated ability.
That is true.
That to me is the difference.
Well, the big thing about Standard for me is that what I feel, especially with a Sultai deck, so maybe this is more of an Abzan card, is that I'm trying to just like tighten the noose on my opponent by building a board presence. Like I give them less options because I'm playing things onto the board. Well, fill my graveyard, while doing all of the things.
Well, go ahead.
And with this is you have to pay mana. You have to take a turn off of like progressing a board position to get back cards that they pick, man. Like it's a browbeat, it's a Punisher mechanic. Like they get to pick the card that you get back.
Sure.
And so if it's a Thoughtseize late in the game, who cares? If it's like a Sylvan Caryatid, who cares? So as long as those cards are still in your graveyard, like you can't get a good card.
I don't know, man. I lived in a world where, when I first saw this card, let's put it that way. When I first saw this card, I was like, it's bad. Why? Because you can't really choose what you're getting. It's all kind of random. They're going to be milling two in the first place. Who knows what you're going to turn over, blah, 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 blah. And then the other half of me said, well, it can be a 1-mana 4/5, which is very powerful. I kind of underestimated Treasure Cruise big time and Dig Through Time to the point where you estimated it to where you got a pie bet out of it. And I'm like, so if we're able to get all the crap out, and again, you're able to get all the non-lands out, so you're just going to have lands in there. You're able to Treasure Cruise out anything you don't really want to get back. And then at any point in time, you can pay 4 mana at the end of their turn, twice if you have 8 mana, which happens all the time in blue-black control, and you can just start getting back whatever it is. So if they only give you back a counterspell, if they only give you back a Thoughtseize, like that's still pretty good. Because again, you do it at the end of their turn. It doesn't have to be a sorcery speed thing. At the end of their turn, you get card advantage. And that to me is sort of that was another big push, was that you could play it for 1 mana as a 4/5, and that's solid. It already blocks a Rhino. That's important. And then secondly is you start to get an advantage basically immediately thereafter.
Yeah, but the thing about like at least Sultai decks is I always have something to do. I almost always have too much to do. Like I have to bring my soul or like activate my souls, activate my whips, play my Hornet Queens.
I understand. Well, just to wrap it up here, all I'm saying is I wouldn't think about this card as it goes into the existing Sultai deck. I would say this may go into a blue-black control and Esper control, its own different deck that abuses that ability in a way that Sultai Reanimator does not.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Yep. Tassiger's Cruelty is
awful. Don't play it. Rakshas's Secret is infinitely better. You want your hand disruption cards to fill your graveyard, not take your graveyard. It should have discarded 3 and then maybe it would be playable. All right,
we're done.
Typhoid Rats.
Keep super good.
Super good. Play it all the time. Play 1 copy main. Take it out when you're on the play. Board in the second one on the draw. That's the best advice I can give you.
It's super good. I mean, I never have a problem playing multiples of these in limited. I love all the rats. This coming back from Innistrad, which was great. 1/1 Death Touchers for 1 are always good. They hold back a ridiculous amount of creatures, a crazy amount of an army that's just staring you down.
I mean, you actually think that Emrakul is the Eater of Worlds or World Destroyer, like just goes in and out. It's actually the Typhoid Rats. They already killed everyone at Innistrad.
Yep.
We don't go back there because they're all dead.
Because the rats killed them.
Yeah, and now they've come to this storyline. What'd be great is like for some reason there was Typhoid Rats back then, but now that Sarkhan came back, like they didn't get rid of the vermin problem because now there's more dragons to deal with. They wanted to kill all those, then kill the vermin. So then the third set is just all Typhoid Rats.
Yeah.
Just 350 Typhoid Rats.
It's the rat set. That's what it is. It's rat tribal. All right, so with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of our black cards for Fate Reforged. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with us. Hope you come back so we can talk about the red cards. Until next time, this is Evan Irwin.
Brad Nelson.
Tapping the cards.
So you don't have to.
Got that right.
We did it.
See you next time.